is 2 in the morning. The room is quiet. Nothing is happening now. And yet, your mind has walked back into a conversation that ended years ago. You can hear the tone in their voice. You can feel the sentence you wish you had said. You can see the moment you should have noticed something, changed something, stopped something. The scene has no new information, but your body reacts as if the event has just happened again. So you replay it. Maybe you replay a betrayal, maybe a failure, maybe the way you embarrassed yourself in front of people you wanted to impress. Maybe it is a decision that altered your life, and you keep returning to the point where you think everything went wrong. At first, replaying the past can feel responsible. It can feel like you are trying to understand. It can even feel like the only way to make sure you never repeat the mistake. But there is a point where reflection stops moving you toward clarity. It becomes a room with no door. Why does the mind do that? Why can old pain feel more present than the life in front of you? And what do you do when remembering becomes a loop? There is an important difference between remembering, reflecting, grieving, and ruminating. Remembering is not the problem. Your memory is supposed to carry the past forward. It helps you learn. It tells you where you were hurt. It reminds you of promises, losses, warnings, and people who mattered. Reflection is not automatically the problem either. Sometimes you need to look back and ask, what happened? What was my part in it? What would I do differently now? Grief also returns. A loss does not follow a clean calendar. A song, a street, a date on the screen can bring a person or a season back with surprising force. That does not mean you are failing. Rumination is different. It is repetitive thinking about distress that does not seem to reach a useful next step. It circles around causes, consequences, and self-judgments, instead of asking, what can I do now? It often asks, why am I like this? Why did this happen to me? What does this prove about me? Those questions can sound deep, but they can also be traps. Because a question can be sincere and still be unhelpful. You can ask it for an hour or for 10 years without getting closer to an answer that changes anything. That is why old pain can become so persuasive. It does not merely present a memory. It presents an argument. It says, this moment explains you. It says, you are still the person who failed there. It says, if you replay it one more time, perhaps you will finally find the sentence that undoes it. But the past cannot be edited by being watched again. Psychology often describes rumination as a repetitive negative thinking pattern. It can begin with something very small. You see a name. You hear a phrase. You make a mistake that resembles an older mistake. You feel tired, rejected, ashamed, or uncertain. The present trigger opens a door to a stored memory. Then comes interpretation. Not simply, that hurt, but that hurt because I am unlovable. That happened because I always ruin things. I should have known. I cannot trust myself. Nothing will change. The interpretation intensifies the emotion. The stronger the emotion becomes, the more important the mind believes the thought must be. And because the thought now feels important, attention returns to it again. Trigger. Interpretation. Emotion. Replay. The loop can feel like problem solving because your mind is working very hard. But mental effort and progress are not the same thing. Imagine someone lost in a city, studying the same map under a street light. They are not lazy. They are not refusing to move. But if they never lift their eyes, ask where they are, or take a new street, the map becomes part of the problem. Rumination can work like that. It keeps attention fixed on an abstract explanation of pain, while concrete action becomes harder to see. Research does not support a simple story in which rumination causes every form of depression or distress. People differ. Context matters, stress matters, history matters. Some people can reflect deeply and move toward clarity. Some forms of analysis can help with real problems. But evidence does suggest that rumination and low mood can reinforce one another. When mood falls, replaying can become more likely. When replaying becomes habitual, mood can become harder to lift. The direction can run both ways. That matters because it changes the question. The question is not, why can I never think about the past? The question is, what kind of thinking is this producing in me? Is it making the situation more concrete? Is it helping me name one responsibility, one need, one conversation, one repair, one next step? Or is it making me smaller, more ashamed, more frozen, and less able to live in the present? There is another reason the loop persists. Painful memories often carry unfinished meaning. You may not be replaying the event because you want the event itself. You may be replaying it because you want an answer to what it meant. Did they ever love me? Was I foolish? Could I have prevented it? Does this mean I am unsafe? The mind returns because meaning feels unfinished. But when the question becomes too broad, the mind has nowhere to land. That is why abstract questions are so dangerous in a loop. They are large enough to occupy you forever. What is wrong with me? Why does this always happen? Why am I not over it? None of these questions gives you a place to stand. They turn a moment into an identity. And once pain becomes identity, every memory begins to look like evidence. The cost of rumination is not only sadness, it is narrowing. When your attention is pulled repeatedly into the same old scene, the present loses detail. You may sit with someone you love and still be arguing with a person who is not in the room. You may have a task in front of you, but your energy is being spent prosecuting yourself for a task that ended long ago. Rumination can also distort responsibility. Sometimes you did make a mistake. Sometimes there is something to confess, repair, or learn. Honest responsibility matters. But rumination often goes beyond responsibility. It turns one failure into a verdict about the whole self. I did something wrong becomes I am only what I did. I hurt someone becomes I ruin everyone. I was afraid becomes I will always be a coward. That is not accountability. It is totalization. And totalization is hard to escape because it makes every new moment feel like a trial. There is a strange promise hidden inside self-punishment. If I keep accusing myself, perhaps I will prove that I understand how serious it was. If I stop replaying it, perhaps that means I do not care. But endless punishment is not the same as moral seriousness. You can care deeply about what happened without making pain your permanent method of payment. You can remember without rehearsing. You can regret without building a home inside regret. This is where the difference between brooding and useful reflection becomes practical. Useful reflection moves towards something specific. It says, I need to apologize. I need to tell the truth. I need to set a boundary. I need to accept that I cannot change their choice. I need help. I need to grieve. Brooding stays abstract. It says, I should have been different. That sentence has no finish line. There is a moment in the Gospel of Matthew that holds this tension with remarkable economy. Jesus has been arrested. Peter is outside in the courtyard. 3 times he is recognized as someone connected to Jesus. 3 times, Peter denies it. Then the rooster crows. Matthew 26:75 says that Peter remembered the word of Jesus. The KJV ends the scene this way: "And he went out and wept bitterly." The text does not tell us every thought that passed through Peter's mind. It does not diagnose him. It does not tell us that he entered a psychological loop. It gives us something more restrained and perhaps more human. He remembers. And the memory changes the present moment. The denial is no longer just an act performed under pressure. It becomes something Peter must face. The words of Jesus, the sound of the rooster, the reality of what he has done, all come together at once. There are moments when memory does that to us. A sentence returns, and suddenly the past is no longer past. It is in the room. You feel what you avoided feeling then. You see what you could not bear to see then. Peter's tears should not be treated as a clinical label. They can be read more simply as remorse. He has encountered the truth of his failure. But the gospel does not leave Peter permanently in that courtyard. That does not make the tears unreal. It does not make the denial small. It does not suggest that remorse is solved by pretending nothing happened. It means failure is not given the final word over Peter's identity. This is where the biblical story can deepen the psychological insight without replacing it. Psychology can help us see how a remembered failure can become a loop of attention, emotion, and self-judgment. The story of Peter invites another question. What happens when the memory is faced truthfully, but not made into your final name? That question matters because rumination often confuses facing the truth with being swallowed by it. Peter does not deny his tears. The text does not portray him as untouched. But neither does the larger story require us to say, Peter is nothing more than the man who denied Jesus. For a viewer carrying old regret, that may be a more honest hope than quick relief. You may need to face what happened. You may need to name it without excuse. And you may still be more than the worst moment you can remember. The loop of rumination often begins with a real wound, a real fear, or a real failure. That is why it is so hard to dismiss. If the pain were imaginary, you could simply ignore it, but the event may have mattered. You may have lost something. Someone may have hurt you. You may have hurt someone else. The goal is not to become careless about the past. The goal is to change your relationship to the replay. Instead of asking, how can I make this memory disappear? Ask, what is this memory asking of me now? Sometimes the answer is practical. Make the call, write the apology, seek counsel, change the pattern, set the boundary. Sometimes the answer is grief. Admit that there is no repair available. Admit that you cannot go back. Let the loss be a loss instead of turning it into a puzzle you can solve. Sometimes the answer is compassion, not a denial of responsibility, but a refusal to treat yourself as if condemnation is the only proof that you care. And sometimes the answer is simply to return to the present. The present may feel almost offensively ordinary when your mind is full of a dramatic past. A glass of water, a walk, a message you need to answer, the work on your desk, the person sitting near you. But returning to the present is not betrayal of the past. It is where the next faithful action becomes possible. There is a difference between saying, "It did not matter," and saying, "It mattered." But it will not control every remaining moment. Rumination struggles to make that distinction. It often treats release as denial. But release can be the opposite of denial. It can be the decision to stop making one memory carry the entire weight of your identity. The next time you notice the old replay beginning, do not start by demanding that it stop. Start by naming it. You might say, "This is the old replay. Something in the present has touched an old wound. That sentence creates a little distance. You are not the replay. You are the person noticing it. Then make the question concrete. Not, why am I still like this? Try, what triggered this right now? Was it a message? A comparison? A tired body? An anniversary? A new mistake that resembles an old one? Then ask, what feeling is here? Not just bad. Try to be more specific. Shame, fear, anger, loneliness, grief, regret. Specific language does not erase pain, but it can make pain less shapeless. Then ask one final question. What is one present action available to me? It may be very small. Put the phone down. Write 3 sentences about what you actually know, not what you fear. Take a walk before you answer the message. Tell someone you trust that you are having a hard day. If there is a repair to make, write down the first honest step. If there is no repair to make, let the next action be an act of care rather than another hour of accusation. It may help to separate 2 things that the replay often joins together: the event and the conclusion you drew from it. The event may be, I was rejected. I made a bad decision. I said something I regret. They broke trust. The conclusion may be, I will always be rejected. I cannot make good decisions. I am beyond repair. No one can be trusted. The event deserves honesty. The conclusion deserves examination. You do not have to replace a painful thought with a cheerful slogan. You only have to ask whether the conclusion is larger than the evidence. A hard moment can teach you something without becoming a prophecy. This is also why a small action matters. It gives your mind new evidence from the present. A truthful conversation, a boundary kept, an apology offered, a task completed, a night of rest, or a request for help does not erase the past. But it reminds you that the past is not the only thing happening. If the replay comes back after you take that step, you have not failed. Repetition is part of the pattern. Notice it again, name it again, return again. The work is not to win an argument with your mind once and for all. The work is to practice not handing the replay the steering wheel. This is not a formula. It will not make every memory quiet on command. But it can interrupt the movement from trigger to verdict. And interruption matters. It creates a small space where you can choose a response instead of simply entering the old room again. If you find that repetitive thoughts are tied to persistent low mood, panic, trauma, loss of functioning, or thoughts of harming yourself, this video is not enough. Reaching out to a qualified mental health professional, a trusted local support person, or emergency help can be an important next step. Maybe the memory that returns is not asking you to live there. Maybe it is asking to be faced truthfully, named carefully, and placed in a larger story than the one it has been telling you. Peter remembered. He wept. The moment mattered. But the moment was not the whole of Peter. Your past may explain something about the wound you carry. It may reveal something you need to repair. It may ask for grief, honesty, courage, or help. But it does not have the right to become the only sentence spoken over your life. So when the old scene returns tonight, do not ask only, why am I here again? Ask something gentler and more concrete. What is this replay asking me to face? And what would it mean to take one present step without making this memory my final name?